hopefully I don't lose my mind when we
I mean,
start talking
do you
about
want this to be like a, do you want this to be like an 18 plus podcast? Just unhindered,
I tell you what,
because I think
my
you and I
answer
both,
right now is no,
yeah, because I think it's
but it
bullshit.
might not be by the time we get through with this topic.
Yeah.
Ask me later.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome to the Insert to Join podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple things that caught our eye regarding Twitch and Mixer, and then some other things that kind of relate to a topic that the group chatted about last week with regards to royales and trends in gaming. And then we'll probably expand upon that conversation a little bit before closing out. Today, it's just going to be none other than HoosierBoy
Heyo.
and myself, and we're just gonna do a back and forth kind of conversational chatteroni about the topics that I introduced earlier. So without further ado, let's get right into the meat of it about this this prominent new feature on the front page of Twitch. Do you want to kind of gently run us through this really quick?
Yeah. So I'm looking at it right now. It's a featured page right now. I'm watching Gold Glove. Love that guy. He's playing Fortnite, and you look below it, and there's hosting a guy named Roasted was taken. Then they got I Am Lucy May, former Mixer partner. Then they got, or maybe she's still a Mixer partner. I think she's still a Mixer partner, and now a Twitch partner. Anyway, then you got Doctor Who, you got World Series of Poker, you got the weekly play-ins, you got all these different channels varying from like 2,000, 4,000. I think Gold actually has like 15,000. What's he got right now? 10,000 viewers, ranging to 100, I see. So, varying shows of different sizes, different channel sizes, different viewership, all being featured on the front page of this website. Seems very similar to some other things and some, the internet. So,
Yeah, Mixer.
yeah. But I mean, not that Mixer was the first one to ever do like a featured channel like this or featured
Sure.
page, but it is very interesting that Twitch has never had something like this. And then after the recent debacle of like, and I use debacle very lightly because it's not a debacle. It's just like the recent hype of broadcasters on all over the space, transition different platforms. Traditionally, the main one is you're seeing a lot of Twitch guys jumping to Mixer. You're seeing some go to Facebook. You're seeing some YouTubers get more into streaming on whatever platforms. So I mean, it's just been one of those things, man. Like you're seeing Twitch make a lot of changes lately, and I think this featured one is one of the more like, I don't know, sly responses, or like, the more like laid back responses to like things that Mixer's doing.
I would almost challenge that. I would say that maybe Mixer was onto the right kind of format in the first place, and now other platforms are just adjusting to that. So it's not necessarily so. This is kind of the perspective that I have with regards to what I see. I think that there's potential that it's not just a rip.
Oh no, I don't think
I'm
it's a
not
rip at
sure
all.
that
Like I
it's
definitely think it's
exactly
their
a
own
rip.
thing. Because like even like you and I talk about this being different. Because if you go to the feature page at Mixer, that's static for everybody. But you and I compared our feature listings earlier, and we saw different things. So who's to say that the featured page isn't tailored to the user? You know what I mean? So like it's probably its own
Right.
thing. And of course, it probably has its own algorithm. Like we all, like a lot of us know how the Mixer one works, at least to a certain degree. There's no way to cheat the system because it has like a week long cooldown. Who knows if this one has a week long cooldown? Who knows, what it takes to get on there, if it's a minimum channel size, maximum channel size, if it's a cooldown of any sorts, if it's an average viewership of sorts, you know what I mean? Or if it's even like agreed upon, maybe it's like a slot sort of thing, like it's some sort of booking thing, you know what I mean? Like we just don't really know.
Sure.
So
I
there's
I think that even I mean, despite what it is, no matter what it is, I think that it's more along the lines of this is what streaming platforms are moving toward, right? I think it's not just like, oh, we saw that, we're going to take that idea. I think it's more of like the industry pushing a certain agenda to say, oh, that idea works really well. So if there's no real copyright for that kind of style, how do I don't want to get into the legalities of it, but the idea there is that this is probably just the new standard. And if
yeah, no, I
Twitch
agree with
has
that.
adopted it,
Like I
then
think this is just like I think this sort of situation is like the same idea as like a like a front phone screen, right? Or like the ability to screenshot your phone. Like I think this sort of feature isn't anything that's like game changing. It's just very pro consumer. You know what I mean? And pro consumer and pro like content creator in the sense like it increases discoverability. You know, because that's like the biggest like thing and the biggest argument against Twitch as a content creator is that it's saturated, right? Well, adding a featured page like this where people have an opportunity to be showcased to increase their growth or just to be advertised, that's huge.
Yeah,
Especially
bringing
if you're a medium
exposure back
content
into the
creator.
fold.
If you're a medium content creator on Twitch, then this is truly, I think, a game changer to a certain degree. Because, like, I think a lot of medium content creators, those are the ones that are really transferring around. Because the guys at the top of Twitch, they're not leaving. Why would they? The guys at the bottom of the Twitch should be leaving because why wouldn't they? They have nothing to lose. It's those middle content creators that are, weighing their options. Like, is it worth the risk to try something else? Or am I successful enough here? And I think this featured
Yeah,
channel really makes that a harder decision.
I do too, but at the same time, I'm not sure that we can say too much about it because we
I
don't know
agree.
how it works.
I agree. I
It
think
would
we
be
can
nice.
like we can talk about like that being in that position. Like we can think
Yeah,
about it a little bit, but of course we don't know how this works at all, and
yeah.
it would
If
be
it is
unfair for
similar,
us to assume that this is just a straight copy of anything else. I just think it's a good thing. Regardless of
yeah,
whatever, it's a good thing for everybody. It's a good thing for the viewers because they get to see more people and like maybe people that they somewhat fit better with, and it's a great thing for content creators because they're pulling in an audience that maybe otherwise would have a hard time finding them.
yeah. Just the simple fact of exposure speaks for itself in this particular instance.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that, obviously we probably can't knock it, but maybe Jeff maybe has some kind of insight into it. Maybe we can talk to partners in the future and figure out what exactly how it's set up. But regardless, that's kind of a really quick take on the new feature
Yeah, and
on
it's
the
also
front
still
page
fairly
of
new, man.
Twitch.
So we're gonna see how this maybe changes in the future. It's only a good thing, man. It's like I say, everyone like it's only a good thing. Mixer. You could say
Sure.
Mixer started it first and whatever, but Twitch getting it is a good thing because that benefits everybody, man. And this is the whole debate: is like competition breeds innovation, and even in the case of like this, maybe not be the most innovative idea, but it breeds just a better experience for all. So I'm about it,
Right. And
dude.
that's kind of what I was saying too, is that like this will probably just be the new norm, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, I agree. I hope so, at least, man.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a little bit of what everybody wants to see, or what everybody like. I want to say facility, but that's not what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
I got you.
some kind of like this is just what people want.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of brings me this idea of trends.
Mm-hmm.
This next topic is probably going to be a little delicate and touchy, and hopefully I don't lose my mind when we get, when
I
we
mean,
start talking
do you
about
want this to be like a do you want this to be like an 18 plus podcast? Just unhindered,
I tell you what,
because I think
my
you and I
answer
both.
right now is no,
Yeah. Because I think it's
but it
bullshit.
might not be by the time we get through with this topic.
Yeah.
Ask me later.
Okay. We'll see. But yeah, the topic Andy's hinting at is that so PUBG it's no this is old news that PUBG sues Fortnite for basically copying the battle royale genre or copying their
I
ideas
can't.
and
I've got
whatnot.
me.
Anyway, so like PUBG's suing Fortnite for copying and whatnot and doing the thing, and people have their thoughts on that. That's old news. The new news though is that PUBG announces that their new map, Sandhawk, or I think it's pronounced differently, but anyway, I'm gonna call it Sandhawk. Anyway, they're releasing it this month or next month, pretty soon after it's been like alpha for like 4 test runs, and with it they're announcing. Let me quote this here. Let me quote this. They're announcing the Player Unknown's Battlegrounds event pass. That's what they're calling it. And I don't really have their quote on hand, but the gist of it is that it's a thing you can buy. You can have PUBG for $30. On top of that, you can buy the event pass where it comes with challenges that you can complete to earn rewards in game. Sounds very
Hmm.
similar to an existing system that
Who's I just I'm not drawing any connections here. I
really, yeah.
yeah. What are you? What's the
It
You're gonna have to
sounds
actually spell it out for me.
Yeah, dude, it sounds just like the battle pass in Fortnite. So, I mean, they're calling it
Wow.
the event pass, not the
Now
battle
that you say
pass.
it,
Yeah.
no.
Just mind
I'm
blown, dude. Just holy shit. But But yeah, man, I mean, like it's just it's getting grilled all over the internet right now. I mean, the first tweet I saw today was from a couple of VBI guys. They basically go, really interesting move from a company that's suing Fortnite for copying their stuff. Like, I mean, but like really though, like the irony just is palpable, dude. Like it's there. You can't miss it.
Yeah. And to kind of bring this full circle, the irony full circle, this is a podcast. I should not be speechless.
Yeah,
And I am.
it's just
I don't know. I don't know what, without freaking out, I don't know what to say about this situation. I legitimately don't. Like
yeah.
I can't fathom the mental space in which the executives at PUBG have to be in right now.
Here's my thing. I don't think the event pass is a bad idea, like for any other company in the world. I think it's a terrible idea for PUBG's PR because they're suing Fortnite for copying shit, right? Like, I mean, I've literally taken it for face. I've taken it for headline value, so I'm not the most knowledgeable about either subject here. But there's definitely a lawsuit in the works, and there's definitely, or at least like there was one. I don't know if anything's been settled yet, but there's definitely a case where like they were like, "Yo, Fortnite copied us, so we're taking them to court to basically dispute it." And then here, literally, they're copying the exact same idea as a battle pass, and like I don't know the history of the battle pass system. Like I don't know if there's other things that have set the precedent before Fortnite, but certainly Fortnite is the largest example of it right now. So it's just very interesting that PUBG is making a move to copy. I think it's a great decision for all BR games. I really do. But
That okay,
PUBG's
great.
PR team must be having a ball right now.
So what I don't want to do is I don't want to hammer this in any more than it's already going to be absolutely exposed all across the internet, the world, even
Oh
for
yeah,
how
dude.
big
Like
Fortnite
yeah,
is. That's not what I want to do. What you touched on it very briefly at the end of what you were saying. What I do want to talk about is to kind of bring this full circle with what you guys were talking about last week is to what extent are you and I seeing this trend? Like you said, it's a good thing, right? You think
yeah,
that all royales should kind of adopt this model,
yeah.
and I'm really curious to first of all get your perspective on that, and then also to kind of and then I'll weigh in with mine, but then also to kind of apply that to how like let's talk about consumer friendly. Let's talk about
Yeah.
what's the larger impact if this becomes a trend, which you have said that you kind of think is, or that you think is a good idea.
Yeah, I
If
would love
if
to
this
see
becomes a
this.
trend, what's the impact?
So, if we take out the politics and the irony and all the comedy out of the situation, I think it's a great move. And for one, I think it's a situation where like here's PUBG's biggest critic is that they don't update significantly enough. They don't have enough things coming to people, right? Like Fortnite's biggest pull is that the game is free for one. Second biggest pull is that there's so many changes all the time. Free updates all the time, free content all the time, changes left and right. Like the game's insane in that regard. And PUBG is criticized for like here they are testing a map for like 4 months or whatever, 2 months, 3 months, and it's just now coming out. As in Fortnite's like, yeah, fuck it, jetpacks, yeah, just do it, just try it out. And like I think people want that. People don't mind shit being broken as long as it's addressed. Like if it's broken, then fixed in like a day, sure. If it's broken so bad that they can't fix it in a day, so they take it out, sure, do that. But people just want change. People want to see progress, and people want transparency in lack of progress. That's something Destiny's been doing is like, talking about transparency. Hey, we're doing these things because you guys asked for it. Hey, we're making these adjustments to the game because it's clear that it's not working otherwise. And so in this case, for battle royale games, people have been very clear. Like, hey, if we don't dig this battle royale game, or if we're investing in this royale game, we want to get more out of it. We don't want to just play for just the wins. Like we appreciate objective side of things. We love to go to risky reels to do challenges in Fortnite. We love to go get certain kills with guns. Like, if I love shooting SMGs, it's cool to be rewarded to that in some extent. And so I think in a battle royale case, builds on that, especially now that PUBG has skins. They should absolutely tie skins to these challenges, make it like Call of Duty based where you get so many headshots, you get a golden skin or some shit. You know what I mean? Like there's so many examples
Right.
and ideas they could take this for customization and rewarding. But the biggest thing though is like, I think consumers are coming to a point where it doesn't matter what type of game it is. It doesn't matter if it's MMO. It doesn't matter if it's first person shooter. It doesn't matter if it's battle royale or if it's fucking Roblox. No one cares if it's Minecraft. People want a rewarding experience and they want to feel like their time is valued. Like not just valuable, but they want it to be valued. If they spend 4 hours playing PUBG, they want something to show for it. If you spend 4 hours getting your teeth kicked in because you played against gods every game, you know what I mean? It lightens the blow a little bit. If let's say in that 4 hours, maybe you got a handful of kills with an SMG, which unlocked the 10 kill SMG challenge and got you a bullshit little skin and a 1-up on your event pass. You know what I mean? Like there's 1,000 ways they could go, and like of course we don't even know the details of how this event pass really works, but it can only be a good thing to add content to a game, especially content that is objective based, that rewards time and investment into a game, and basically rewards players for their time and loyalty in said game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of room to adjust like player mentality in a royale, where initially what we saw with PUBG was or like at least why people started making the switch to Fortnite. One of the arguments was like, oh, it's faster, you can do more things. It's like 4 hours in Fortnite is like 8 hours in PUBG. And like there were a lot of arguments to say that, like, in my opinion, that hinted at like a game pacing. And you mentioned rewards, like you're rewarded more. And I think that contributes to the pacing of the game, right? Like in Fortnite, the pacing is like, okay, I did a match, it didn't go so well. I did another match, I kind of placed high. I did a third match, and by the time you've finished your third match, you come out and you're like, oh, I completed a challenge. And then you like all you got to do is click that button, and you go in and you see other challenges that you need to complete, and then you're like, oh, I'm kind of close on some of these. Let me just play one more game. And we all know how that goes.
Yeah.
So like that to me is like when you inherently create a reward system that incentivizes just one more game, it's just smarter. I think it's pretty smart. So
absolutely, man. Like they should be like, if people want to play your game, you can't take that for granted anymore. I mean, like I think a lot of developers took that for granted to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like Call of Duty was the king of all games. And here we are, dude, trying to justify, if Black Ops 4 is going to be, not a piece of shit. And I think Black Ops 4 is on the up and up. I think World War II was on the up and up. I think they learned their lesson and they're getting better. But you know what I mean? Like, I think arguably from Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Advanced Warfare, I think those 3 years are probably the most they took advantage of their player base, right?
The dark ages, yeah.
I mean, just for me, like those weren't my most engaging games. I know people still love Black Ops 3 for, their reasons. But I don't think like that's the best consumer friendly practices during that time. And you could argue those were industry standard. You could argue that, things were different, whatever. But just looking back at it, man, like they didn't do enough to reward their player base. Instead, they made it like so daunting.
I see what you're.
That's the point I'm trying to go at it, man. It's like the only thing they had to like reward their players was like new skins and like infinite leveling, and like that grind is cool, but at the same time, like, is it really that significant? Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's insignificant. I think there is value in it. It's one of those things where like it rewards players for their time. And some of the challenges, like the skins and guns and things like that definitely rewards them for like their challenges and experience. And so I think like some of the good consumer practices were there, but the stuff that they were missing on was like the addition of maps for free. You know what I mean? Like this big significant content, the additions of new weapons and things like that. Like that's the stuff that I think BRs today are really capitalizing on. The big significant changes are coming for free, but it's the little changes, the things that make little impacts during those big significant changes. Like people need that, because big changes will bring around everybody to at least think about it, right? To try it out for a little bit. And then if those big changes aren't necessarily, like blowing their minds, it's going to be the little things that might tide them over. And that's always been my thing.
Yeah.
Is like, I think there needs to be a good balance of both. You need significant changes to keep things truly feeling fresh. And then you need little changes in there, like little rewarding, goals and stuff just to keep people interested, to reward players' times even when things blow. You know what I mean?
Yep. I kind of wanted to touch on that too, is so we're talking about this model that seems to be consumer friendly, right?
Yes.
We're suddenly saying that these kind of like rapid updates, these, snap, the devs will snap their fingers, or excuse me, the player base will snap their fingers. Hey, can we, hey, right now. And then the devs come back and say, oh yeah, 2 days. You know what I mean? Like that rapid fire update system on top of a free game. Let's just see. Everything's better when it's free. But and I want to put this delicately, is a consumer-friendly game the way to go? Is consumer-friendly content the way to
Okay.
go?
Okay, so here's my argument with that is because like you don't want to go when I say consumer friendly, I don't mean casual. I think that's gonna be something people just take it. They're gonna be like, oh, this guy just wants all the best shit in the game for free. But like that's not my point. My point is like having something being consumer friendly means that there aren't malicious practices in place to divide a player base, right? To divide a community, to pay to win, put people at an advantage that breeds toxicity and breeds negativity and breeds an overall very temporary, longevity of the game, right? So what I say is like, making a game casual is, all fine and dandy if you're playing The Sims or some shit, but like, we've seen a game go the casual route, like Destiny, and it was awful, right? Like Destiny went the casual route. They took out random rolls from the game, so every gun had a static roll. Every gun was slightly different, but every gun had a static roll. Every midnight coup was going to be the same as every other midnight coup, whatever. And people hated that, man. People didn't like that because it made things too casual. It lost the reason to play to a certain degree. There's 1,000 reasons to play Destiny. Content's never an issue, but it's the rewards that were lackluster. Plenty of things to do, no reason to do them. And that's what I'm saying though, is like consumer friendly practices are giving both things to do and things to earn, but in a way that does not breed toxicity, negativity, shorten
and does not
the
divide, right?
yeah, that's the big thing is like, when I say divide, every game pretty much until like this year had DLCs that were, segmented into DLC 1, DLC 2, DLC 3, etc. And they would combine player bases based on who had those DLCs installed. Traditionally, the largest player base, who owned the game, the largest player base would be the people who had, all the stock base maps unlocked. And then as people bought in DLC 1, people would only match up with people who had base maps and DLC 1. Then they would divide the player base again by having people who had DLC 1 and DLC 2. And then people who only had DLC 2 could only match with other people who only had DLC 2. Like, you're dividing the player base into so many, like, infinite situations. It just wasn't, sustainable.
Consumer friendly in the long run, right?
Yeah. That's the whole point, though, is it wasn't sustainable. So you already just put basically a time, basically a ticking time bomb on your game that says, the more we do this, the less our people are going to be, the less, I guess, like, the more difficult it's going to be. I was trying to say, like, the less, effective it's going to be. But anyway, the direction I'm going to take this is the more difficult it's going to be for our players to matchmake with each other. And the only people that I know that have done this in the past are companies like Respawn, who with Titanfall eventually just made all their DLC free. Like, their DLC cost money at the time, but eventually when their player base was dwindling and people were having a hard time matchmaking, they were like, guys, like, we really appreciate you playing our game, so all DLC's free now, so you guys can play with each other, all achievements unlocked, whatever. Like, that was a company that stuck to the traditional model for as long as it made sense. And they were like, it doesn't make sense anymore. We're only hindering the loyal players who are dedicated to our game. And that's insane. So they did the only thing that made sense. And they unlocked all their maps to everybody. Everyone gamed and everyone could have fun. And everything was open. And now I think we're at a phase where that mentality is coming to, like, existence more often. Everyone wants that. Everyone wants everything unlocked and available all at the same time. But... Right. As long as it doesn't affect gameplay. If it affects gameplay, it needs to be closely monitored. In the case of cosmetics, what we've learned is cosmetics, no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit if you're a fish-faced alien or if you're a soccer player. No one cares.
We've also learned from just to really quickly interject, we've learned from a developer perspective that skins or costumes, cosmetics sell.
Yeah, but as they should, though. I think cosmetics absolutely, like, we argue that free content,
flavor.
Yeah, we argue that free content is great, but like, we're not naive enough to think that developers just grow on trees and they have infinite money and infinite time just to do these things. Like, I'm aware that development costs time and resources and pensions and whatever. So like, it costs money. And so, like, they need to make money somehow. And so that's where I'm like, I play Fortnite a dumb amount. So I don't mind buying a skin I like because I know it means that they're going to be making more skins I like and they're going to keep doing what the hell I like about that game. And that's why I'm not even against PUBG having an event pass. We complain about it because we think the irony.
Issue, right?
Yeah, the issue is not the event pass. The issue is the decisions surrounding the event pass, which don't, the event pass is a great idea. The reason the event pass is getting shit on is because of other actions the company's taken that scrutinize the idea of this great idea. The quality of this
Exactly.
great idea. And so that's where I'm like, I think PUBG getting event pass is a great idea. It makes me want to play the game. It makes me want to go check it out, and it
Or at
makes me
least to
feel like,
consider it again, right? To
yeah,
at least
right. Like maybe if
say,
I go
hey, this
back and
game.
I'm still like PUBG's not, my game, and I'm gonna go back to Fortnite. Like it is what it is. But at
Yeah,
least
you at
this,
least bring it back into the fold. It's like something else that you're like, hey, I think I'm gonna put this back on my radar for a minute,
yeah, you know what I mean.
and
Like at
that's
least
good.
because my biggest thing as a streamer is like if you're not great at PUBG, then why would you play PUBG? You know what I mean? Because like
Sure.
a PUBG game at best lasts what, like 30 minutes, 25, 30
Yeah,
minutes.
something like
If
that.
you win, if you win. Of course, if you suck, you might get in like 20 games an hour, but they're going to be horrible games. But if you win, it's going to be like 25, 30 minutes. And if you lose in the middle, which is arguably the most infuriating part of every PUBG game, isn't losing in the beginning. Of course, that sucks. But you'd rather lose in the beginning than be 20 minutes in and then get headshot by some dude you don't see anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying that that isn't the greatest feeling in the world because it's a pretty great feeling when you wreck someone like that. But as that player who got pooped on, it's not a good time because that's all that time investment and you got nothing out of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like tangibly, you definitely got nothing out of it. And maybe to a less tangible level, maybe you had like, you got experience. You know what I mean? You learned
Yeah. Yeah.
that whatever situation
Battle
worked.
points or something that's
Yeah,
in
or I
PUBG.
guess battle points. But even then, like, I don't like battle points because battle points are a bullshit currency that leads you into loot boxes. And I'm like, it's just needless, dude. And like, I'm
Yep.
all about it. Like, I mean, loot boxes are loot boxes. It's free currency, sure, but I don't think the event pass. I think going forward, the event pass is going to be infinitely more valuable than any of the future loot boxes. So I guess like
Sure.
realistically, I don't think the loot boxes are bad. Like, I don't think the crates are bad because they can be earned over time for free. Like, that's fine to me. Like, I really don't have an issue with it. It's just the whole idea of loot boxes and the slippery slope they can carry things in. Like, that's kind of where I'm like, eh. But I don't think PUBG's doing it wrong. Like,
Right. Right.
I just
The
don't mess with
whole
crates. That's just my
the,
personal preference.
yeah, and the whole focus of this was to kind of bring up that the event pass in and of itself is not a bad idea, but that the way that PUBG has been handling the situations surrounding their game, and I mean, just to be frank, Fortnite's game at
Yeah.
the same time, or Epic's game at the same time. The I guess the real meat of the subject here is to also bring into the spotlight what. Okay, so we had to be delicate about the consumer friendly thing, right? And
Yeah.
I think Hoosier, I think you handled it in a really good way, and I agree with a vast majority of what you were saying. But to bring this, or to push it a little bit further, is to begin to ask the question: what content is really worth paying for? Because you mentioned that developers don't grow on trees; they are people. They need money for their work.
Yeah. Like I'm
It's
all
no
about paying
secret.
your artists and I'm all about fair pay for fair work. You know what I mean? Like I'm all about I work with VBI and I have other, artists I've contracted out for different projects and I've paid every single one of them. Never have I ever taken like something for free without any expectation of not paying for them. You know what I mean? I'm all about it. I'm all about paying your artists and providing, giving back value and appreciation to those who provide a service of some kind. And I think
And really
development,
quick, I just want to interject.
yeah,
Artwork and things that you have created from by someone else for things that you are then creating, those things come with stories, and stories are very valuable. I just wanted to interject that point. I didn't mean to derail everything that you were
thanks,
just about
Andy.
to
Just
go
totally just like,
into.
way to blue ball me there, man.
Hey,
Just put
dude,
me on ice.
look,
But
look, I'm the narrator. All right, stories are incredibly valuable. Those people, they're very deserving of any and all cash that they get.
yeah, that's my point though, man. Is like people, artists work very hard and they provide a great value. And I think video game developers are the exact same way. You know what I mean? Like I may critique a game and I may critique the, decisions of a developer or whatever, but I will never critique like someone's work ethic, their hard work. I can say they make terrible decisions. I can say that maybe this game isn't my kind of game, but like every developer wants their game to succeed. You know what I mean? No one puts out a game and says, it can just shit the bed. No one cares. Like everyone wants their game to work, and like video game development's tough, dude. Like you know what I mean? Like I can't draw the Mona Lisa. You know what I mean? I can't paint the Mona Lisa. I can't
Absolutely.
I can't paint the Mona Lisa, and I can't build a fucking world class building. Just like I can't build a AAA title $1 million, $1 billion franchise video game. You know what I mean? And that's what we're looking at for a lot of these cases. PUBG is a multi-million-dollar franchise, I assume. Fortnite probably at this point is probably $1 billion franchise. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know numbers here, but thing is, like, these are great games with like really great developers, and I think these developers should be compensated. And when you're looking at free games and free updates and free things like that, they have to be compensated in some form. And I think cosmetic items, event passes, battle passes, whatever option they go, those are all fantastic. I much prefer cosmetic items and optional things over like hiding behind a gated paywall for extra maps and shit. I think this is a great trend. I think it's a great move. I think the politics around it are what really kind of sour up PUBG's latest, investment. Because I want to cheer for them, right? And I am. I think they have a great decision, but it's the decisions leading up to this that have people like, eh. And the same thing goes for Bungie, dude. I love Destiny and I love the direction Destiny 2 is going, but people are, still shit talking it because of their past decisions. And I think like, we're seeing this at a corporate developer level, but I think this also is like a prime example of, young content creators. You know what I mean? Like if you have a history of being a shitty person or having, shit content and producing, shit value to a community, when you do something right, you're not going to maximize the potential reward out of it.
Yeah, you're completely ignoring the idea of trust at an early stage, and that's never good.
Yeah, I mean every young, I mean I'm sure these are young content creators and I'm not going to, judge them on maybe their seriousness and dedication to it, but I mean every content creator to a certain degree has had a situation where someone comes in their chat and they're like, "Yo bro, shout me out, follow for follow, homie dab, whatever." And it makes you look so bad in the long run. And usually these come from people who like you're never going to think twice about, but like what if this came from someone who like you knew, like someone who maybe was on your radar, and then they said this and you were like, that's a no, that's a nope for me, dude. And then you ruined that first encounter with that person, right?
Right.
And like that's what I'm trying to say though, is like these developers are doing 101 type of shit, man. Like this isn't mind-blowing stuff. Like some of these developers out there, like they're learning the hard way that gamers don't just like forgive anymore. They don't just forgive and forget. In
Definitely.
the age of internet, everything is around forever. And, increasingly, as quality of games are getting better and better, so are expectations from the gamers and from consumers. And I think we're starting to actually see that, that high expectation is becoming more and more vocal every year, which means that these consumer-friendly practices are now becoming standard. For this reason, consumers are
Sure.
demanding more because everything else is getting better. Everything's becoming more competitive.
I think a prime example of this, as funny as it may be, is back in the day, whenever the ET cartridges were buried in New Mexico or Arizona or wherever they were buried at. You can't just take your mistake to the landfill anymore or bury it in a desert. It's there and it's gonna stay there. It's gonna stick. And the first thing coming to mind is EA, right?
The Battlefront 2
That's
nonsense.
a legacy, dude.
Dude,
You're building a legacy on that stuff.
They literally broke world records. It's the most downvoted post on Reddit ever. And what's funny is at its worst, it was like almost 700,000 downvotes, right? It actually got upvoted back to like 660,000. Negative 660,000. So it was negative 700,000 about. And before they archived it, it ended up closing at like negative 660,000. So like, granted, 40,000 upvotes is a big bump that try to like, make it not so bad anymore. But still, it's still by far the most downvoted comment of all time. And it's now set the bottom of the barrel of what people like don't want. People are like, yeah, this is bad, but at least it's not Battlefront 2. Like they've become a meme. They've become a negative standard. And like, that's absolutely, like as it deserving. For one, they absolutely deserved it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's one thing to say that they deserve, but it's another thing. It's another thing to also say that, like, so it's warranted, right? And you can't shake that especially when you earned it and you deserve it. You can't shake that.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing of like charging $60 for a game, $100 for deluxe edition, but then it's a whole different thing when you're charging like $30 for Darth Vader on top of like whatever and 40 hours of content to unlock a single character. And I'm all about a good grind. But, like, if the whole purpose of the game is to, like, play as your favorite heroes, don't gate those heroes behind an insane amount of, like, time. And don't void that time with like, easy pay to win. Because
Yeah.
that's basically what it became. Is like,
You
okay, if you can
devalue
dedicate,
a certain
yeah,
experience after that.
yeah. I mean, like that's the
Again,
time bomb I'm talking about.
divisive. What
Yeah,
it is it's divisive to say that somebody who can put in the time, and time is valuable. That's another thing. Time is money,
yeah,
which I think is something that kind of blew over their heads. But someone who can put in the time can also just be bought out. So,
yeah. And like, I'm
uh,
not saying like maybe those consumers shouldn't be like catered to some degree, but
sure. Well,
like
costumes do that, do they not?
the what? Oh, you mean
Cosmetics,
like
sorry.
yeah, the cosmetics? I mean, I think the cosmetics are great, but like yeah, I think like you got to keep the gameplay out of it. You know, you can't let someone pay $40 for Darth Vader because like that gives them like an easy access, especially like at that point. Like if you paid, let's say, I don't know, let's say you just dropped. I don't really know what it costs to buy every character. I'm just gonna guess $500. You drop $500 day one on Battlefront 2. You have everything unlocked day one, and you play against someone who has 30 minutes in the game, nothing unlocked. Because that's what it was. It had a Call of Duty style grind system where you had to like rank up to unlock things. So you're going against a guy who has like default stock weapons, and you're the god of all guns. You know what I mean? Like you're the god of all characters. There was a big oof there before oof was a big thing, and
Right. What
you know, and
what
like
I
that set the standard though, man. And like I think this has been hashed out a million times, this Battlefront 2
Yeah,
thing.
that was getting ready to.
So
I was getting ready to say that. The
yeah,
last thing I'm going to do is continue on with that with the EA example.
yeah. I feel like
But I
there's beating
do
a dead
want to
horse,
say,
and then there's like beating the grave of the dead horse, and that's what this is. Like,
and then beating the dead horse's grandson.
yeah,
And no, but what I do want to say is that as a consumer, we need to be able to. So we're talking about consumer friendly models. As a consumer, do we really like what content is worth paying for? Right? They do. Okay, developers
I'm
do
sorry.
need
I
to
was
get
like,
paid.
for some reason, I was imagining like beating a dead horse, and then I zoomed out and like was beating a grave in my head, and then I zoomed out again, and when you said like the horse's grandson, I was imagining like BoJack Horseman just like getting whipped in like Netflix. I don't really know. I don't. It went. It took a weird angle in my head, but no,
Yeah,
dude, like
the
yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree.
yeah, the idea is to ask ourselves what content is really worth paying for.
Yeah, because I think
And again,
like
it's kind of opinionated, right? I think there's a little bit of bias. I think a Star Wars fanatic would certainly say, "Well, I'm going to buy Darth Vader for $1,000." You know, who's someone who's
yeah,
got that kind of
but that's
into.
also the point I want to make too.
Well,
Is like there's nothing wrong with that per se, but I think that's the malicious consumer practices where they're taking advantage of their loyal consumers because they can. You know, like there's no goodwill
exactly,
in that.
exactly, and that's kind of where I think the section is that we need to focus on as consumers is to really identify that, like, of course fanatics are going to be this wave, right? Or that there will be people out there who would do that, and to identify that even if you don't agree with it, it's still like a not so consumer friendly practice to put that into place.
Yeah,
um it's one of those things that I think, again, to bring as much as I can full circle, it's not so much that the devs need to be paid at that point, right? It's not so much about
hmm,
what is their art worth, what is their content worth, but more back to the idea about a separation, a consumer understanding of a separation between something like cosmetics and things that don't impact gameplay for the sake of supporting the development team, and a scenario like what EA gave us that is
hmm,
gameplay contingent, that is just a dramatic paywall into content. That's the difference. What content is really worth paying for? Ultimately, you get to decide as the consumer.
yeah.
But also, I think it's worth noting that so do the rest of us.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're seeing, though, man. It's a vocal consumer base becoming increasingly vocal, and we're seeing better consumer practices. We're seeing consistent trends. Yeah, these passes, these season passes, with challenge based content hidden behind them. We're seeing
Which we
tons of.
agree is a good idea.
Yeah, we agree. It's a great idea. I'm all about like give me significant free updates. Give me new maps for free. Give me new guns for free, and give me cosmetic shit for
A
a
minimal
flat,
price.
a flat rate. Give me a flat
Flat
rate.
rate, yeah.
Yeah, give me a flat rate that buys access to it that then rewards my time investing into it. Like I have things to earn. If I buy that event pass for $10, whatever, and I decide not to earn everything on it because I don't want to spend the time, that's on me, right? I
Yeah.
decided to pay the money and I decided not to earn everything. But if I pay $10 and I only get such and such things, and someone else pays like $50 and they get everything plus, like I don't know, a nuke, whatever, like that's the
Yeah.
bullshit. And but like, as long as they keep the gameplay out of the monetary hands of people, and then like, hell yeah, dude, do whatever you want. Give me fucking Teletubbies and PUBG. I don't give a shit.
Sure.
I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, give me War of PBS Battlegrounds. I don't give a shit. I'll do it.
Yeah, I think that kind of we've exhausted what we wanted to talk about tonight. So I think it's good to wrap it up there before we, because man, it's almost too easy at this point to talk about all of the comedy around surrounding all of the
Oh
decision
yeah, I mean
making
it's
and
definitely
stuff like
easy to
that.
critique PUBG at this position. Like I said, their PR team, God bless them. Pray for your PR team at this point because I think they're gonna have a difficult time explaining this one. But at the same time, like, I think it's going a good direction. Like you take all the politics out of it. I think PUBG getting an event pass is good because more people that buy into this season pass standard means it has a higher chance to be industry standard, and that means that we're gonna see more things like that, more cosmetics, less pay to win. I'm all about it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
less
I agree.
diversifying community. So it can only be a good thing, man. On top of that, I think streaming's going better and better. It's been really exciting seeing Renee and Punji Stick and Angry Iceberg and Brofish and like all these other Twitch guys come over to Mixer again in waves and really bring something new to Mixer. It's been good, and I'm great to see Twitch to adopt more content creator friendly opportunities like the featured
Practices.
page. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think it's only a good thing, man. So I think right now, like I think I said this last week that we're on an upswing as video game enthusiasts, as gamers, and as content creators. I think this is a great time. I think we've reached a peak of sorts of people are like here we are and we're tired of bullshit, so we have options and we're gonna go explore them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the end of the podcast, guys. Thanks for hanging around, shooting the shit, doing the thing. Andy, as always, brother, good to have you.
Yeah.
Of course, we miss Lupo and Jonathan and Jeff, but they got kiddos to take care of and things to do and places to be and games to play and stuff. So I'm not kidding. They're not playing games, guys. They're doing work. They're busy. They're good people. They're doing things, saving lives of sorts. I'm sure, even if it's just their own from their. I think Lupo has a sick kid, so I hope he's not getting sick over there. Hope he's taking care of his bubble boy.
Hope he's
And
good.
then and then Jeff's wife's actually about to have a baby, man. So
Woo.
hope they're doing
Woo.
fantastic. Hope the wifey's doing all right and
Spicy.
comfortable. Yeah, their fourth kid, man. I mean, it's gonna be a wild time for them, and wish them all the best. I mean, hell, by next podcast, they may have a fourth one. So
Oh man.
yeah, so keep that in mind, guys. Be sure if you guys want to keep contact with all the homies, be sure to check out Lupo to the Rescue, Inspector Jeff, Infected Ground Zero, of course, myself, Hoosier Boy, and then we have Andy, the narrator. You can, yeah, you can find us all on respective Mixer for all of us but Jeff, and then you can find Inspector Jeff on Twitch. You can find Insert to Join at inserttojoin.podbean.com. You can find us on Twitter at Insert to Join. You can find us on YouTube. We start posting on YouTube again because YouTube screwed us that one time. We haven't done anything really since then. Sorry, guys. We're gonna get back at it. And I'm gonna do a quick plug because I've been doing YouTube videos every day, and I've
Let's
been
go,
doing
dude.
like Twitter videos and Instagram shit. I had like 7 videos made in like 3 days, dude. So I'm doing work.
Dude, gotta plug the
Check
man.
that shit out, please. But no, man. And anything else you want to talk about your stuff, Andy? Anything going on in your life?
Nothing. It's on the way.
On the way. It's a story chat. You gotta wait for it.
It
It's,
is development. How about that? In development.
There you go. There you go. You want to sign us out here, Andy?
I will, absolutely. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Insert to Join podcast. Today was kind of a bunch of loaded topics that we elected to not divulge for good reason. But there's a lot of really good stuff in here that talks about consumer-friendly practices, trends in gaming, content that's worth paying for, and just a couple features that we kind of noticed out on the net. So we appreciate your time here. But I got to ask, will you insert to join?